we're going to transform education for kids from marginalized communities, whether they be Indigenous kids or kids from other marginalized communities, and we're working in those communities, and we don't spend time in the community, we are doing a disservice to those children, right? If you want to know how to better serve your kids, spend time where they are. Get to know their communities, right? I've done workshops right across the country, and I remember one time a woman saying to me, you know, I've been teaching kids from this First Nation community for 17 years, and last week I went there for the first time. And I thought, wow, you know, 17 years and you've never been to the community, it's like 2 minutes away, right? We need to spend time with people, and we need to learn from people. When I was at St. FX as a student back in the late 80s and early 90s, I joined an organization called X Project. It's a student society, and it provides small group educational assistance, recreation, and leadership programming for youth from Mi'kmaq and African Nova Scotian communities around the Antigonish area. So we work in 6 different communities. And it was started in 1965 in a post-civil rights era, I guess, around the time of the civil rights movement. And a young man by the name of Joe Webb had just been appointed the teaching principal in the community of Lincolnville, which is one of the original Black Loyalist communities. It's where my husband grew up. His family had lived there for hundreds of years. And Joe got a job teaching there. The school was a K-6 school. And then after that, kids went down to the high school in Guysborough for junior high and high school. And Joe used to spend some time with the older kids. He had a friend, a guy by the name of John Allen Cameron. You may have heard of him. He was a musician. So John Allen was a student at X at that time, and he and Joe played guitar together. And so John Allen would come down and put on some free shows in Lincolnville, and all the kids would come out, and that's how Joe got to know the kids and how he got to share stories with them. And he realized they were really struggling with getting help with their homework because a lot of the parents in the community hadn't had an opportunity to go much beyond grade 4 or 5. Lincolnville School actually was the last segregated Black school in Canada, closed in 1978. So my husband started school in a segregated school in Lincolnville. There's a great documentary called Little Black Schoolhouse, if you're interested in that, it's worth watching. So in this school, Joe decided he would call some of his friends and see if they would come down and help some of the older kids with their homework. And so students from St. FX started going out in 1965 to help kids with their homework. At the same time, there was a woman there named Joan Dillon, and she was teaching pottery to the women in the community, and she was also helping to run Cubs and Scouts and Brownies, and the 2 groups needed to share transportation because there were a lot of people going out into the community, and they realized that if they shared transportation, they could rent a bus. And so in the spring of 1966, they became an official organization known as X Project. One of the founding principles of X Project was that you never go into community without being invited, and that the community direct the programming. See, at the time, there were all these organizations working in the community that were all there to help the people, right? Because it's around this time of the civil rights movement. And so everybody's there to help the people. But everyone went in thinking they had the thing that would help the people, right? What X Project did differently is it asked the people in the community what they could do to help. And to this day, X Project still runs that way. I run X Project off the side of my desk with about 1,000 volunteer hours a year. But that principle, it's still there. And so that's a principle that I learned really early on that I carried into my teaching with me. I knew some things, I knew some stuff about math, but I also knew I had a lot to learn, and I knew that my job was to go into the community and ask the community what I needed to do. And so that's what I've done.